Hi, this is Tricia Baxter with Wheelhouse Analytics. Thank you for joining our call this evening. I am the administrator of the Envestnet Institute on Campus program. Before we get started with tonight's call, I just want to go over a few of the GoToWebinar protocols that we're using. All of the participant lines are muted. We'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation. To ask a question, use the GoToWebinar control panel to type in your question. If you'd like to actually ask your question online, there's a raise your hand option, and I will unmute your line for that. We are recording this call so that we can share it with others. An email will be sent out this evening to anybody who is invited to the call. So let's get started. I'm going to turn it over to Jim Seifert.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules. We do have a lot to talk about regarding Envestnet Institute on campus. We've been expanding dramatically on a number of fronts, and we thought it would be important to have a call this evening with the universities that are participating, as well as others. So joining myself, as you can see on the screen here, are Steve Clark, president of DAC Associates, which is an executive search firm, as well as Cheryl Nash, the president of Fiserv Investment Services, which provide technology solutions to our industry. So this evening we're going to focus in on a couple of things. You can see on the left-hand side there of the agenda. I'm going to give you a brief update as to kind of where we are, but we're going to get right down into the weeds regarding two new initiatives. One is the Resume and Internship Hub, and Steve and I will share where we are with that. We're about to launch it, so we're very excited about it. And many of you already know that Cheryl Nash is spearheading our Women in Wealth initiative. It's off to a great start. As mentioned, Cheryl is on the line here as well, so we're going to cover where we are with that initiative and where we see that going. I do want to mention that the participants on this call. I mentioned we do have the participating universities on the call. We do have universities that are thinking of participating in the near future. We also have many senior executives from the wealth and asset management firms in general that may be members of the MMI. These are individuals that typically brought the universities to our attention, so they're called sponsors in our world. And then last but not least, we have several human resources managers on the phone as well, here to listen more about the Resume and Internship Hub. So we've got nowhere to hide, but we are going to keep this crisp, probably take about 45 minutes, and then open it up for questions and answers. Program review. Let me cover a couple of these topics here. I think it's good to just quickly review those logos you see at the bottom there and who all the players are, if you will. So DAC, Fiserv, Money Management Institute, Wheelhouse, Envestnet. Envestnet is the main sponsor of this program, as many of you can imagine with their name on the stadium, if you will. So Envestnet is the lead in the program. We at Wheelhouse are the administrators of the program. We actually created the program, and the Money Management Institute, which now has 176 members. That's an association where, if you really look at the top players in the wealth management, asset management space, as well as great firms like Fiserv that provide technologies to service the industry, we are members of the Money Management Institute. And they're acting as the voice for the industry, if you will. So the members get together, we educate, we do a lot of work on the legal and regulatory front, product development. So it's very important, and if I were you on the phone, if you haven't really dug into the MMI, I'd take a look at their website and learn more. And then, of course, we have DAC Direct. You're going to hear more from them, and Steve Clark regarding the Resume Hub, so they're a partner in here as well. The recent news that we want to draw to your attention is that Wheelhouse was recently purchased by Envestnet. We had the the press release on the on-campus website. Many of you hopefully already know that Wheelhouse is primarily an analytics firm. We did build the education program and the content within the on-campus program, so now we're underneath Envestnet. So what that simply means to you from where I sit, where Tricia sits, we now roll up to Envestnet as employees, but now Envestnet Enterprise, if you will, is really getting excited and beginning to rally around this effort of the on-campus program, because now we're all one big family. So I wanted to cover that very quickly, and then now I'm going to move on to kind of what we've learned. What the students have told us and what you have told us through all the surveys is that there's been very positive feedback on all the 7 classes. So the content is relevant. It's helpful, to understand the current environment, the actual career paths that are available. So on that front, very, very good news. What you've also told us, and what the students have told us, is that the 7 classes, the mandatory classes, are enough. So the 6 to 7 hours of classes are going to remain as such. So as we're headed into the future, what you'll see more of is those modules, those optional learning modules that students can listen to on their own time. So for instance, we have a module on career paths. It's 7 minutes long. As of this morning, 702 individuals viewed that module. So we think they're pretty good, we think they're valuable, but the point is that for the time being, no more mandatory content for the certification, probably more learning modules, optional learning modules, and we'll look ahead to and bring topics to the students' attention as we all see fit. Also, hopefully you know that the students also receive, if they decide to receive it, a subscription to Funfire. That's a daily news periodical that really keeps the students up to date on what's happening in the industry. We promote it. It's once again at no cost to the student or the university, and it's a good thing for students to peruse daily to see what's happening in the industry, and then also prepare them for internships and hopefully onto employment. Moving on to the participating universities, you can see the list here. I do want to point out that we are now in a position that we're going to grow in a more methodical way, if you will. So we got off to a fairly good start with 4 universities. Now you can see all the names, up here on the screen. We trained in the first 3 semesters a little over 300 students. This semester, which ends, by the way, tomorrow, this semester alone has over 300 students that will most likely receive their certification. So we've grown kind of geometrically, and we're going to kind of pace ourselves moving forward. So what we mean by that, what appears to be a more comfortable pace, is about 5 to 6 universities per semester. So remember now, we have a semester in the spring and we have one in the fall, and we are now looking for universities in the Midwest. We don't need to name them right now, but we do have a number of them that we're speaking to. And thank you, University of San Diego. You do represent the West Coast now. We're looking to have a few other universities of your ilk out there, hopefully soon. But that's kind of the pace at which we're working at. So I thought that was important to kind of bring up. The next slide is where we get right into the internship, Resume and Internship Hub itself. You can read this slide. You all kind of get this, the benefits to the students, the managers, the industry. Kind of my take on this, and you can, agree or disagree at the end of this call or ask questions, and we hope you do. We think that the students and especially those in the career counseling departments of the universities. You really need some more wind at your back with regards to helping these students find internships and jobs. Let's face it, it's not easy. So I think one of the benefits is for the collective us, Envestnet, Fiserv, and all of our partners, obviously including DAC, to get that word out there to hiring managers, HR personnel, and something that we'll talk about in greater detail later is that Envestnet has 50,000 registered investment advisors that do business with them. These registered investment advisors don't know how to find an intern. So they're very much looking forward to when we get this up and running, and it will take time, they're very much looking forward to seeing these students' resumes and hopefully putting them to work at least as an intern and then hopefully down the road hiring these individuals. Hopefully you get the benefit for the hiring managers. What we've heard from HR, our HR partners, is that you're giving me a work-ready individual. They know the lingo, they know the acronyms, they know the products, and the onboarding is much easier. So there's the benefit to them. And then finally, to the industry, we have a gap here. We have a talent gap. We have a gap in minorities. We definitely have a gap with women in the industry, and we need to help fill that. And that's why Cheryl is so graciously offered to spearhead that effort, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you get it. Those are the benefits to the students, the hiring managers, and the industry. I'm going to turn it over to Steve from DAC Associates. He's going to tell you a little bit about the firm itself, and then we're going to get right into the weeds, if you will, on how the actual program works as it relates to your students. Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Jim, and thank you to everyone who made the time for our call this evening. I'm going to keep the DAC commercial to a minimum, but my name is Steve Clark, and I'm with the executive search firm DAC Associates here in the Philadelphia area. DAC is now in its 37th year, and we exclusively serve the financial services community nationally. And over our many years in business, we have built and amassed a pretty substantial database, and we tried to be very thoughtful about how we code professionals, both with the use of general as well as industry-specific inputs. And so, as an example, we look at things like function, education, professional credentials, licensing, language proficiency, geography, and then some very specific inputs that are tied to financial services and specifically asset management and wealth management. So we have really fine-tuned our ability to thoughtfully input and code professionals and their skill sets. And you know, as the Envestnet program has taken flight and the number of students have grown exponentially, Jim and Tricia realized they needed a database. They needed to be able to keep track of the students, and moreover, they needed what I'll call a service model or a service center to support the program. And I'm proud to say that DAC is that service center, and more specifically, it's our online recruiting engagement model that we call DAC Direct that will serve as the client interface for the Envestnet Institute. So in short, we will be able to assist organizations in understanding their need, whether it's the summer internship or it's the entry-level hire, and help them to make the appropriate student match. So what I'd like to do is really take you through sort of a workflow. Tricia, if we could go to that screen. So, you know, very simply, as you can see, the student completes the course, the student receives their certificate. They're then asked to complete a profile page. And Tricia, if I could trouble you to go to the profile page. So what you see before you is really a simplified form. In actuality, this is a 3-page profile with a lot of subsets to it. And of course, some of this is name, rank, and serial number, but there's also some thoughtful aspects of it. So, obviously we want to know from the students, what degree are you pursuing? Are you in an undergraduate program or pursuing your master's or MBA? Have you had any other internship experience? And have you had any exposure to financial services or the wealth management industry? What type of positions are you looking for? And so as an example, in this 3-page profile, there's a litany of choices: sales, operations, technology, marketing, client service, portfolio management. Now, as we all know, we can't expect these students to know the path that they should go down or where they're ultimately going to end up from a career standpoint, but I think it is important to try to key in on a predisposition or proclivity for a certain aspect of the business, because that will help us. That's a coding input, and that will help us to be very thoughtful on how we code these young men and women in the database. We ask if there's any plan to achieve certain certifications, and frankly nowadays, as I think we all know, there's a number of universities that have financial planning curriculum, financial services curriculum. It's not uncommon to find a student who's already taken the CFP course, or in some cases I've seen students who already have a FINRA license. Again, that's a coding input that's relevant to the database. And then of course geography. So, as an example, Colgate is part of our program, but it's very realistic that a student who attends Colgate may live in Southern California, and the reality is, candidly, they may not want to pursue internship opportunities outside of Southern California. Again, that is a coding input that's relevant to the database. So we're trying to profile these young men and women. We want to be thoughtful about the track that they want to be on, and that helps us to match them up in a thoughtful way with potential internship opportunities as well as entry-level roles. And Tricia, if I could ask you to go back to the previous slide. So once the student completes the profile, their resume and profile is sent to DAC. We then upload their information into our database, and then we will then notify the student through an email that we are in fact receipt of their information and they are now in the DAC database. So once that occurs, and Tricia, if we could fast forward to the employer slide. So now the employer comes to DAC. They have a need, again, whether it's the summer internship program or it's the entry-level hire. We talk to that employer. We want to understand what is the need, whether it's internship or entry-level, where does that need reside? What part of the business, what unit, what are the specific profiles that they are seeking, or exposures that they think would be most conducive for that particular role. Of course, there's all the other elements, geography, that we have to take into account. We then reach out to students that we think match up with that criteria. We talk to them and we provide a level of qualifying. Naturally, we want to know that they're interested. We want to know that they're available. If we think that they're on point, we present their information, their resume, their profile to that employer or host organization. And then from there, we can be as involved or as uninvolved as that employer desires. So we're happy to provide feedback interface. We're happy to shepherd any part of that process, whether it's call setups or meeting setups. And we're also going to do our best to track the activity. A lot of the universities who are participating, they want to know, they want to keep score, how many of our kids got a look, how many of our kids got an internship or were hired in an entry-level program. So we're really going to do our best to track that information. So think of us as a full-service concierge that can help that employer or host firm to, again, match up with the appropriate student profile for that internship need or for that entry-level hire. If we could go to the next slide, Tricia. So in terms of, there's two sides to this, right? There's the university side and there's the employer or host firm side. So, what I would say on the university side, first and foremost, for the administrators on campus who are helping to drive this program, as you consider potential candidates for the program, I would ask that we please keep an eye to diversity, both gender and persons of color. We feel strongly that this can be a terrific grassroots effort for diversity at all levels. We ask that you encourage student participation in the Resume Hub. Naturally, some students are going to want to pursue their own avenues or go their own way, but we think it's a terrific iron in their fire, and we think it could be a really high-quality opportunity generator for them. So please stress that to them, stress the value of the connection. Help students with their resumes in terms of how are they presenting their background, their relevant experience. I think that's very helpful. And then on the firm side, at this stage, we're getting off the ground, and so it's really about organizations, companies, host firms, being flexible enough and willing to give Envestnet students a look. We're not trying to usurp what you're already doing in your organizations, and we know that a lot of you have on-campus recruiting efforts. We're not trying to usurp that anyway, but we think there's a high value to this program and the fact that these young men and women are coming out of this program with strong foundation and understanding of asset management and wealth management, and of course the nomenclature around the business. If they come to you in an entry-level role where maybe someone coming from out of the business, it took you 9 months to a year to train them up, I think you'll find that that'll be highly compressed with an Envestnet student. So we think that's really a high value proposition, and you're already talking about young men and women who, again, have a predisposition and are pretty serious about making a career path within financial services. So we ask that you give the program a try and you give these students a look. And then, of course, to be pretty transparent and provide candidates with feedback on their resume, on the interview, what they could have done better, or perhaps why they weren't selected for the program. And we can also help in those conversations as well. So in closing, we are proud to be part of the Envestnet Institute. We look forward to driving education and adoption of this program. And I very much look forward to the Q&A part of the call tonight. And with that, Jim, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Just a couple of other sort of notes on the hub itself. That from here, Steve, myself, the board members, Cheryl, and others, we are working diligently to promote what you just saw to the community, to the human resources community, to the industry. So to that end, as early as yesterday, we had a video production company come in here, and we're looking to produce, in essence, here's why you need to take a look at these students' promotional package, if you will. Because Steve's right. This is going to be about measurement. It's going to be about measurement from where you people sit in your shoes. How many got a look? How many got a job? How many got an internship? And we'll be doing the same for the Women in Wealth. I mean, Cheryl is very passionate. We're very passionate about the initiative. To date, roughly 37% of the participants are female, are women, and that's way too low. So we want that to be, way north of 50 soon as possible. And Cheryl's spearheading that effort along with the rest of us. So it is going to be about measurement. The ask from me to you folks is that we just are now graduating the 300 plus students. Please reach out to them, because it's that time of year. You all are so busy. They're going to get their certification. They're going to get a survey about the program, what they like about it, how can we make it better, and then finally there's that profile sheet. Please encourage them to fill that out and get it back to us, because guess what? You all know this internship season starts now. As a matter of fact, last weekend, 2 of our students got internships and 2 of them got jobs. So it's already started. So it's going to be kind of important that we get those as quickly as possible. So moving on to the Women in Wealth Program initiative, I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl Nash. We'll walk you through, very quickly where we are, where we're headed, and then we'll close with any questions you may have. Cheryl?
Yes, thanks, Jim. So I'm very happy to be here. As Jim stated, we do have an issue in our industry. Only 30% of students in this program are women. It's even worse when you get into the working environment. So this program is really gaining steam. There's a lot of discussion in the industry. There's a lot of publications that are being written about equality. So it's not just women, it's also inclusion, so minorities and others. So a lot of work around this, and I'm really passionate about this and excited to be bringing this to the college students. I think it's important to talk about the goal and the objective. So the goal of this program is to educate, encourage, inspire, and motivate young women to pursue, and then ultimately, which is really the goal of this entire program, achieve a successful career in the wealth management industry. I'm the president of Fiserv Investment Services, where we have 300 different clients, money managers, broker-dealers, and they're all looking for opportunities to bring bright students into their workplace. So this is really a goal of Jim's and Steve's and mine and everybody else that's working on this program to make sure that we do that. There is a big focus in all of our clients on women and diversity, and making sure that women get a good chance and get the roles that they're really suited for from their college experience. So we really, within this program, want to make sure that we're providing tools and offering access to successful women in wealth influencers, which I'll talk about in a minute, to allow these college-age students to get access to people who can answer questions, who can help them, who can look at their resumes, who can tell them some of the challenges that they've faced and how they've actually overcome those challenges. I think, in just growing up in this industry and being a woman, it's really important that those are shared and that we help women really make a statement and really get a good place in this industry. So next slide, Trish. So all the things that Jim talked about, I talked about, it's really the timing is now. I think the election spurred a lot of women looking to figure out how they actually make a difference. So I think what we're one of the big focus areas is making sure that the experience that we're putting forth in this program is one that's enriching and one that really helps women get ahead. So there's things that we're doing, and I'm going to talk about those things, but they're really more around helping women understand what's happening in wealth management. You know, it's a very dynamic industry right now, especially as a technology provider. There's so many things happening that, you know, these women could really learn from some of the experts that are in this industry. There's different, you know, types of careers that these women can go after. It doesn't necessarily, like it has been in the past, just, you know, marketing or HR. There's a lot of, you know, P&L responsibilities. There's different types of roles that these women can go after, and I think once they get access to the right mentors or the right people that can guide them, they can really understand where they can go. So the next slide really talks about what I'm building, which is this is a very dynamic team. There's 10 women on this team, including myself, and we are very focused on driving forward this program. These women have all grown up in this industry like I have. They've all, you know, grown successful careers, and they all have a lot of things that they want to share, and each one of them is very passionate about gender diversity and bringing more women into this industry. They all are willing to give their time, their experience, and really help mentor women to get into this industry. So as you can see from this list, we've got CEOs, COOs, we have somebody who is a owner of a financial advisor business, and she primarily deals with women and women financial needs. So we have a very wide variety of women on this committee who are really going to help drive the education and the proper guidance for the women that are part of this. And the women that are in college, I'll just give you a little background. I went to Fordham University about a month ago and spoke to the Women in Business Club there. And I'll tell you, the feedback and the reach out after that was amazing. It really was clear to me that these college-age women need support and help, and they really want somebody to go to and ask questions of to help guide them. And this is really what this dynamic team of women influencers are, what we're set up to do. So one of the things, too, that this group has signed up for is once kids graduate from college, and the biggest, you know, win of this is that they get successful careers in wealth management, we will follow them from 0 to 5 years in their career to make sure that if they have questions or there's needs that they have that aren't being met, or they have questions on how to do a performance review, we will be there for them to help them all along the step as they're, you know, really getting their toes into wealth management. I think that's really important, because once you get into an organization, then you need to make sure that you've got the right guidance and help to get to the right level there. And then lastly, just to talk about the programs that we have, on the Envestnet Institute on Campus website, there's a Women Initiative tab, and on that tab talks about the women in our team, some of the initiatives that we're doing, some videos that we're providing. We're also getting information out about women in wealth management to you know, to get access to. So that's something that's out there today. It's live, and I would suggest that you go take a look at that. We also are working on a marketing campaign, an email marketing campaign, where we will target the women in these colleges that are participating in this program, and we'll start promoting things that we're going to be doing around discussions, chat sessions, events. So that's coming up shortly. There is an invite-only LinkedIn page for the Envestnet Institute on Campus Women program. We will be inviting all college students who participated in this last semester that Jim just spoke about. All the women will be invited to be part of this. And we also are inviting women who have graduated and are in the industry. So this is going to be, and it already is, a place that is what we call a safe place. We've posted articles, we've posted helpful hints on things that you can do, and we're going to start doing chat sessions where there will be topics. We know that, you know, internship time is coming up, so we can do a chat session and help guide the students to the DAC Resume Hub and help them, you know, really get a good internship in wealth management. So that environment is set up. It's invite only, and we expect to bring the women that are in this program into that environment. We are doing webcast and videotaping. We are scheduling in January a roundtable with all of the women influencers, and we'll be talking about, what it's like to grow up in this industry and some good tips for these women to learn from. And we have a LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram pages with some hashtags that we'll be putting out there for the women. And then, again, just visiting college campuses. That's something that every woman on my leadership team is very anxious to do. So we would be open to talking to the universities about that. It went very well at Fordham, and I think just opening up to the women in business clubs or the women who are part of this program, it's something that we would be very happy to do. So with that, I think that kind of rounds out what this program is. This program will continue to grow. It just really has been in place for, I'd say, about 4 or 5 months, and we've really done a lot of work in those 4 or 5 months. But it's really driven by some very passionate people who want to make a big difference and help the students get to where they need to go. So Jim, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And it's truly amazing how far we've come in such a short period of time. So we are now at roughly 20 minutes to 8. We do want to open it up to questions. Tricia, I think you have one or two that came across already. Are we going to open the lines up as well, or? I'm
going to start with asking the questions that have been submitted. So
sure.
We just received a question from Jeff Wilk. Jeff Wilk is one of our executive sponsors. His question is, does the completion of the student profile generate a pre-filled resume template from DAC? Could DAC also provide a sample resume template for students targeting financial services? Plenty of resumes, templates, self-help guides out there, but how about one geared towards what works in financial services?
I'll take that. Within the on-campus website, Envestnet Institute on-campus website, there are, I mentioned the career path optional learning module. There are 2 others. One is specifically designated to resume writing. It's very short, very crisp, and it's resume writing for financial services and wealth management and asset management. So we're going to recommend that the students go there. Having said that, many of the participants on the call actually have areas within the university where you help with resumes. We are doing that as well. Not a week goes by where we're not actually helping a student rewrite a resume, take a look at their LinkedIn profiles, and mainly help them with the language around the institute itself and what they say at the point of interview. So that's my recommended answer, Steve, unless you have a further comment from what I just said.
No, I concur with everything that you just shared.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Sarah Reinhardt. Sarah is part of the MMI, the Money Management Institute, and Sarah works a lot with different programs there and is going to be assisting us with the Women in Wealth Management program. And her question is regarding diversity and inclusion recruitment. Does the Hub collect information from the student regarding their gender and ethnicity? We are capturing the information on gender. We aren't specifically asking ethnicity of the students today, but that's something we can certainly add as a possible enhancement to the Hub. Jim or Steve, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
Steve, what is DAC's position on that?
Yeah, so it is a good question, and unlike a traditional search, right, where we're actually meeting with and assessing candidates, and so we'll have a feel for some of those things. I think we're relying on the university to help drive diversity. So anything that could be reported to us in that process would certainly help us to identify someone as a person of color, or obviously gender diversity, et cetera. But we would really be reliant on any kind of information that would be, communicated back to us from the university.
Just keep in mind, regarding information in general, we do have an agreement. It's a letter of understanding, let's call it at this point, for each of the universities, and within that, we actually state that we're not we're using this information. We're not sharing this information. So it doesn't get out to others. We're collecting as little as possible. Hopefully you agree with the profiling questions. They're not too onerous. It's just pretty do you feel your personality is like. And it's a little bit like sailing. You know, the student may change his mind, may pivot. They may start somewhere and end somewhere else. That's perfectly fine. That's a great question, though.
Great, thank you. And then I did just get another question from Teresa Walker. Are there any opportunities for recent female graduates? So I think that kind of goes to, you know, asking if the female graduates have participated in our program, then they would be eligible to participate in the Resume and Internship Hub, and therefore any job opportunities that are made available to us, they would be considered for.
And Cheryl, you can comment. I've prior to the hub, you know, being launched here, and we're just now starting this, I've literally had calls, and I won't name the names of the firms, who are specifically asking for females, for women. So just kind of, I would kind of make that statement. I will also make a true statement. Cheryl, you can chime in. The registered investment advisors, typically the ones that are growing rapidly, you know, typically 250 million and above, somewhere in there, they are aggressively looking for young women to join their firms. So what's happening is they're looking for young women who can run their proposal systems or financial planning tools, their Morningstar databases and outputs, because they want them to eventually come in as a partner. And I hear this almost every single week, and it's an issue in the industry. It's an issue because what happened is the data states that when typically, as you all know, that the male dies first, and typically in 80% of the cases, the wife takes the business somewhere else. So now everyone's, you know, paying attention to the data and they're scrambling. Cheryl, I don't know if you want to comment further on that, or.
Yeah, I think the statistics out there, only 30% of financial advisors are women, and to Jim's point, there's a lot of need in the industry to bring women into teams. So advisors now set up teams, and they set up teams that actually have better relationships with their investors. So women are very much seeked out right now in this industry. Also, to that question, I think the women that go through this from the college perspective, they will get an invite to be part of the LinkedIn community. They should definitely do that, because one of the things that we're looking to do is make sure that the women that join our community are, we kind of guide them and make sure that they do go through the hub, and that they do get access to good jobs in the industry. So I think that that's something that I would highly encourage.
Thanks. And then we just, not necessarily a question, but a comment from Mike Sciola at Colgate about the feedback they're hearing from students. Mike states that we're getting high praise from students about the quality of the courses, and we're definitely hearing from our recruiting partners that they recognize the value of the firm. So thank you, Mike. We appreciate that comment. We are getting very good feedback from the students. With the program ending tomorrow, I've been hearing from the students over the last couple days about how valuable they found the content. So we're going to continue to obviously add some auxiliary stuff, as Jim mentioned, so some optional classes to help kind of round out the offering.
I think, too, just to add to that, one of the things that Jim's helping the students with is when they do build their resume, there's actually some really good wording to put in there around this course that they just took, and it really stands out when they go interview for wealth management. So that's just a huge plus. And I would encourage you to talk to your students who are taking this course to make sure they really take advantage of the Resume Hub, building the resume with the right language, and it really will make a difference in hiring.
I think one more comment, and we're very appreciative of everybody sticking on to this call. That I will say that, and from Steve's point of view, myself, Cheryl, Tricia, and all the board members, that these are tools to help these students. Please don't look at any one of them as, you know, the silver bullet to get a job. Yep. We will be aggressively working with human resources departments at all firms, but keep in mind that there are going to be a few that are pretty locked into what they're doing today, and, you know, in many cases rightfully so. So we will continue to encourage the students to, you know, really, you know, paint the landscape the way they see it. And, you know, we're happy to help, make phone calls. We have lots of contacts, even if they're not within the DAC Direct Hub. So I just wanted to mention that. You're all working very hard. We're working very hard, and we do not have a lock on wisdom here. So if any of you have any ideas of how we can make things better, we're all ears.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Just to throw up our contact information here, as we've mentioned before, our website is investnetinstituteoncampus.com. That is the main source of information on the program. We post news articles. We'll post articles of interest. As Cheryl mentioned, there's quite a few articles related to women in the workforce. Jim will post an article that applies to the students every couple weeks. All of our news releases, any new videos, that's the source for it. You can also reach out to us directly. I'm going to leave up our email addresses here for a minute for the recording. But if there's anything we can do to help, please reach out, and I'd be happy to direct you to Steve or Cheryl or Jim if there's any specific questions.
Thank you very much, everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.